Hello, we will be playing an arrangement of Mozart's Overture to the Marriage of Figaro. Like our other two trios, the Lakmé and the William Tell, Figaro was an operatic work. So this excerpt you would have heard at the very beginning of the opera with the whole orchestra playing. The Marriage of Figaro is actually a continuation of another play, The Barber of Seville. And in this first story, we learn about Figaro, and he's helped the Count marry Rosina. But in this sequel, essentially, it occurs during this day of madness several years later, where Dr. Bartolo, who was also in the first story, but he comes back, he loved Rosina, but didn't get to marry her, and so he plots revenge against Figaro. But the story isn't as intense as it sounds. It's meant to be a comic, light-hearted opera, so you'll hear the lightness in the overture, especially in the original where you just hear the strings, but also the excitement and the energy and the presto, the fast tempo. Yeah, hope you enjoy.
This next piece, the Flower Duet, is another work adapted from opera. It comes from Léo Delibes' opera Lakmé. Lakmé tells the story of an Indian girl during the British occupation who falls in love with a British soldier, Gerald. Lakmé's father is opposed to the British, and in the end of the work, Lakmé has to eat a poisonous flower, knowing that her relationship with Gerald won't be possible. However, the Flower Duet takes place in a happy moment in the beginning of the opera, when Lakmé and her friend go to the river to gather sweet flowers. They sing about going to the shore, seeing birds and jasmine flowers, and floating down the river. As they walk to the river, Gerald is having a picnic nearby, and he and Lakmé meet for the first time after this duet. The beautiful flowers Lakmé and her friend gather foreshadow the poisonous ones she later eats. Now I'm going to introduce you to the flute. Flute is one of the highest pitched instruments in the band. It's a member of the woodwind family of instruments, even though it's usually made of metal, like mine. Unlike the other woodwind instruments, the flute is not played with a reed. Instead, it is played by blowing across the tone hole, which I'll demonstrate right now. The flute does not make a sound if you blow directly into it, like this. Instead, you can form your mouth correctly by pretending to spit a grain of rice, and then doing it while putting the flute to your face. By pressing down on the keys of the flute, you're lengthening the tube, which makes a lower pitch sound as you press more keys down, like this. This is how different notes on the flute are played. The flute comes in 3 parts. It has a head joint, which has the part that you blow into. There's the body of the instrument, which has the majority of the keys. And there's also a foot joint, which allows you to play some lower notes. Because the flute comes apart like this, it's possible put it in a very small case like this one that I have, and this makes the flute really transportable and a great instrument to choose as a beginner. Until the mid-1800s, a flute would have been made of wood instead of made of metal like the one that I have, and instead of being cylindrical, it would have had a conical shape. Today, as a flute player, you might also play the piccolo, which looks like this. It's a higher pitched, smaller version of the flute, which is made of wood, and it sounds like this. One of the fun aspects of playing the flute is that you get to sit in the front of the band right next to the conductor. You can also play a wide range of music on the flute, as you'll hear in the performances that we're going to show you in this video. And a fun fact is that a celebrity you might know, Lizzo, plays the flute and actually studied the flute in college.
Hi everyone! Dad, are you ready to learn how to play the flute?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, great. So, first, to hold the flute, you're going to want to take your left hand and have it facing you. Then, you're going to put your thumb on this key right here. Then, put your index finger down on that key, middle finger down on that key, ring finger down on that key. Then, you're going to want to have your right hand facing out, and you're going to put your 3 fingers down, the index finger, the middle finger, and the ring finger down on those keys. So now we're going to learn how to play a G.
Okay.
And in order to do that, you're going to put your lips on the mouth plate and blow across the flute, but also aiming the air a little bit down so you can get the note out. Okay. Very good. So now we're going to learn how to do a C major scale.
Okay.
So for that, you're going to put all the left hand and right fingers down, and you're going to add this special key on the foot joint, which will make the low C. Okay? So then, once you get that low C, in order to play the scale, you just pick up each of your fingers one by one, like that. So first you're going to pick up the pinky, then the ring finger in the right hand, then the middle finger in the right hand, then the index finger in the right hand, then the ring finger in the left hand, the middle finger in the left hand, and then the thumb in the left hand, and then you have a C major scale. You want to try that?
Sure.
Good job.
Thanks.
Very good job. So, hope you all can try this at home. It's really good fun, and good job to you. I will be playing the last 2 movements of the Partita in A minor, written by Johann Sebastian Bach. Johann Sebastian Bach was an organist and one of the most famous composers of all time. He was a composer during the Baroque era of music, which took place from about the 1600s to the 1750s. The last 2 movements that I will be playing for you are the sarabande and the bourrée anglaise. The sarabande is a slow and stately dance with 3 beats to a bar. The bourrée anglaise is a fast dance in a duple time, meaning that there are 2 beats in a bar. And I hope you enjoy.
Hello, I'm Jamie. I just wanted to share a solo piece that I recently performed, Ulysses Kay's Prelude for Unaccompanied Flute. This is an interesting work. It was originally meant to be an etude to help young beginner flute players develop good breath support, and it's a beautiful piece. Ulysses Kay was an African American composer of primarily neoclassical music during the 20th century. You might have heard of classical music, and neoclassical music was kind of like a modern reworking, almost a return to classical music, or at least music in the classical style. So you might think of composers such as Mozart and Beethoven for classical music, and Kay basically took the forms, the ideas, the techniques of those older composers and tried new things with them. So I hope you enjoy this piece. Hello again. So you might have noticed in some of our recordings, especially our trios, that we were never in the same place together. And so this was a pretty complicated project where we had to record our parts separately and try to put those together to sound like a trio in real time. And so I just wanted to give a brief overview, some of the tools we use and how we put a project like this together. The three main apps we used, the software we used was Audacity down here, MuseScore, or any score writer works, and Premiere Pro. And so let's start with MuseScore. MuseScore was great because we could create a click track, and click tracks are important for aligning our separate parts. That's probably one of the hardest parts of one of the hardest steps of a project like this is just aligning our audio, making sure everything fits together, especially when you're dealing with a piece where the tempo fluctuates, so it's not steady throughout. There's rubato. Rubato is when you have a little bit more freedom with the tempo. You can slow down, you can speed up, and it sounds musical and it fits the piece. And with the piece score, what you can do is you can transcribe the piece and then add like a little percussion instrument underneath to serve as a metronome. You can even change the tempo and really like dictate how you want the rubato to play out. You can really plan the tempo changes, and then you can just export a project like this and share the audio with other people in your group so they can play along with it. And this transcription part can be a bit tedious. Sometimes all you need is just one part to transcribe. What was really helpful for us was we found a database with a lot of the MIDI files for these pieces. If you're a flute player, Flute Tunes is always great. IMSLP also has MIDI files sometimes. And the whole point of these MIDI files is they're like a little mini play along. You can download them. As you can see here, you can change the tempo and the key. A great place to download them is in a score writer like MuseScore, as I showed you. Some other versions I've heard of are like Finale and Sibelius. But I know MuseScore is free and it's great, it works well. So that's for planning out the audio and making sure it lines up. But then when you have the audio recorded, you need to line the audio up. And what was really helpful for us was Audacity, which is also free. And it's just a great way you can see the waveforms and how they line up. And you can listen to the parts separately. So Flute 1 for Lakmé was Vaynu. I can just click solo and listen to him. And you can do that with any part. You can mute certain parts to isolate other parts and make sure those line up. Yeah, so that's for audio. And for video, just any decent video editor works as long as you can rearrange the videos, crop them, resize them, and make sure you can see the audio waveforms so you can align it with the compiled audio from Audacity. So all of these steps might seem a bit daunting. There's quite a bit involved in a project like this, but I do know there are definitely shortcuts. There are, especially if your school only has access to like a Chromebook and might not have, the Adobe Suite or all of these software available to download. You can always talk to your parents, with your teachers about maybe exploring simple apps like these a cappella apps where there are templates readily made, readily available for you. And you can just put in, all your parts, sing with yourself, play with yourself, send your projects to friends and play with them. And even simpler, if you don't have an app or a smartphone, just try recording yourself and playing along with yourself. Basically, there are a lot of opportunities to make really cool digital projects, even when you can't play in person with other people. You can always reach them, find ways to interact musically through technology, and it's really cool.
We will be playing a section of the Overture to the opera William Tell, which was composed by Rossini in 1829. An overture to an opera is played by the orchestra before the beginning of the first act of the opera with the vocalists. An overture shows melodies and themes that you will hear later in the opera. This opera is based on the Swiss hero William Tell, who was a soldier and, according to legend, an expert with the bow and arrow. The section we will be playing for you is the Ranz des Vaches, or the dairy cows. This is a simple melody that is said to have been what Swiss alpine herdsmen played as they drove their cattle to pasture. I hope you enjoy.